Hi everyone, Kim here with a process video for Dusty Attic chipboard for you today. So this layout is for the mood board, an image of which I've inserted at the start of this video. And what I'm doing is starting with a mixed media background in one of the shades of the mood board. So it had several shades of blue in it. So I'm using a watercolor palette, and I'm actually using 3 different shades of blue from that palette to create this background. And I am using a heavyweight mixed media cardstock to do the watercolor on so that it doesn't bow too much. The one that I prefer is the Vicky Bouton Foundations cardstock, is what I like to use when I'm doing a mixed media background. So you can see there that I'm adding in another shade of blue into this, and I'm just adding watercolor and adding extra water in my Tim Holtz spray bottle there, just to push and extend that watercolor. And then it will be set aside to dry. I did end up extending it even further after it had dried because I decided that I didn't have a big enough area done. And now I'm using a distress ink pad, which is just one of the little square ones, 1-inch square ones, and the multi-rainbow stencil from Dusty Attic to put some blue rainbows in another shade of blue over that watercolor background. And I really like the effect of just having some very subtle rainbows into the background, because the photos that I'm using are photos of my niece playing outside in the sunshine, and so the blue reminds me of blue skies, and the rainbows are just a really pretty addition to that. And it also creates another layer of interest into the background of this layout, which would be a white cardstock otherwise. So because this is a mood board, I went through my stash of very old paper and paper bits and pulled out a heap of blue, pinks and purple papers, pattern papers, and also embellishments that I'm going to use along with chipboard, which I'll colour up to match in with the theme of this mood board. So I don't even know what most of these papers are because they're super duper old. Some of the embellishments are 49 and Market. A lot of the flowers are 49 and Market flowers that I'll use. But, the papers are my mind's eye, and I think there might be some glitz and some basic grey. So they're super old papers from some brands that I don't even think exist anymore. So I can't really help you with those, I'm sorry. But I like the mood board because it does make me go back through some of my old paper bits and use them up. And it's a great way to challenge myself outside my comfort zone, which is these days tends to be creating layouts from the one collection. So the mood board can push me outside of that. So this is a 49 and Market piece, and then some tickets and stuff from, I think it may have been from an old Prima collection, and then the doily I cut out of an old pattern paper, and then that's actually a crochet doily that has been dyed, and then I have a pink feather there, and then I'm adding a whole heap of extra flowers and stuff into my embellishments. So you can see that I've got a lot of variety of embellishments. My only thing when I was looking for the right embellishments was just the colours inspired by the mood board. So I'm adding another layer into this vertical paper element, cutting a notch in that to add something different. So I've got some torn edges there, some punched edges, some straight cut edges, and then the notch. So again, just different elements add more interest into that background. So I've got a rough idea of how my layout's coming together now. And one thing I will say to you, see, I've put my hand up there. I'm just seeing if that horizontal paper element needs to be smaller, and I will cut that down. That's because I find that if you keep it quite compressed, it looks better than if those paper elements are too big. So I've now set that all to the side. I've got an idea about how I'm going to lay it out, and so I'm getting some ideas about how I will want to colour up my various chipboard elements. And I'm starting with these gorgeous dandelions, and I'm painting them with a Kuretake gold mica paint, which is actually for calligraphy, but I find that it paints up chipboard amazing. And you'll see in the close-up photos at the end of this video how incredible that chipboard is coloured up. And I have not had to prep the chipboard in any way. It's just a matter of painting a layer onto the raw chipboard, and the gold is incredible. And the amount of mica that's in that particular paint is just amazing. You can also use glass pens or fountain pens with that as well. So now I am using wax on all of my other chipboard elements. So with these swirls, I am going to create an ombre effect with those. So this is the first layer, which is like a light purpley lavender colour, which matches in with the patterned paper that I'm using. And now these cursive part of the title is in a blue. Now this blue is actually a matte colour, so I'm then going to add an opal colour over it so that it's got a bit of shine. So I have sped this up a lot because this is probably the longest part of the preparation for the layout, colouring up all the chipboard. So I do speed it up really quickly so that you can see what I do, but it won't take forever for you to watch it. Now this part of the title, so I've gone and I'm actually now putting another opal colour over this pale lavender. So it's just giving a different look to the first coat of the wax. And now I'm adding a dark burgundy pink to the capital letter part of the title. So there's part script and part capital letters in this title, which says "See beauty in the everyday." And so I'm starting with this rich fuchsia burgundy pink, and then I'm actually going to add an ombre of gold onto the bottom of those letters. So I'm just letting them dry a little bit, and then I will add the gold onto the bottom of them. Now with wax, because it's obviously a thicker medium than paint, sometimes you can end up with little bits of wax in the cutout parts of the chipboard. So I just have a pair of scissors handy and just scratch it away so that you've got nice clean edges. You can see now that I'm putting the gold onto the bottom of each of the letters, and it's going to give a beautiful ombre effect. If you look at the detailed photos at the end of this video, you will see that ombre effect in close up, and it is really gorgeous. So I'm just scratching away some of the build up of the waxes around those swirls so that they're nice clean edges. And on the title as well. Okay, so now I'm putting the opal over the blue because I love the colour of this blue, but I'm not a massive fan of matte waxes. So by adding the opal, it just gives a little bit of a sheen. So the opal waxes are like an iridescent colour. They tend to look different colours depending on how the light hits them, but they're actually not opaque, so they're translucent as well, but they can give a really nice effect over paint or over more solid wax and flat wax colours. So now I'm adding some really rich deep purple to wax to the bottom of these swirls to give them that ombre effect, and I just love these purples together. So I've realised I want to paint the little word circle with some more of the gold paint. Okay, so back to the layout, which I had set aside, and I'm looking at how I'm going to cut this down, and I decided definitely do. As I said, more compact the paper is around the photo and embellishment elements, the better I think it looks. That's my personal preference. I don't want the papers to go from top to bottom and left to right side. I want them more compact in the middle. You can then see more of that beautiful mixed media background, and you get all of the colours, but it's just more condensed. So now I am sticking all the elements together, and what you'll notice is I've created the photo mat, and it is separate to the other bits at this stage. So I'm just laying out more of the details of the layout just so that I can see that everything's going to fit right and that it's going to work. And I'm like feeling reasonably happy about the flowers. As you can see, I've got flowers in all the different colours from the mood board, and I think it's really, really pretty, all the different colours together, which is not something that I would have ordinarily done. I don't tend to mix all of those colours in flowers and embellishments together. So I'm pretty happy with how that's fitting together. Now, I had a little banner, chipboard banner piece from, I believe it was a Prima collection. I'm tying some purple string around that just to add more of the colours from that mood board, and that's going to sit at the bottom of the photo. Tucking some of the chipboard in to make sure that it's all working, and those swirls, and yep, I'm really happy with that. So now I'm going to start sticking things down. So as I said, I had those matte for the photos, and now I'm creating that horizontal paper strip, just sticking them together. But you can see I haven't stuck that down on the page yet, but the layers of paper are stuck together. So now I'm putting this horizontal element and I've stuck it down, and then I can add the vertical element, I stuck it straight down onto the paper. But now I've got these two horizontal elements, being the paper and then the photo mat, and they're all separate but layered papers together so that I can move them around and make sure I'm happy that they're in the right place before I permanently attach them. The photo mat I have stuck down with some foam tape so that it's got a little bit of added dimension. And now I am sticking down the chipboard dandelions because I'm going to layer more embellishments over them. So I want them down first. And now I am going to start layering more of these embellishments into this large cluster. So they're just a couple of pink tickets, and then the swirl's going to go there. As I said, that's a crocheted doily that has been dyed. These are all really old elements out of my stash, so it's been great, as I said, to try and use some of these. With all my older embellishments, I actually have them sorted by colour, so it's really good when it comes to working on a mood board because you can go to that bag and pull stuff out that would be interesting for the layout. Okay, so just sticking down more of the flower elements, and I've also stuck down the ombre swirl elements, so you can see that that very large cluster that's on the right is going to curl around underneath the photo and then join in with the swirls. So effectively you end up with a large embellishment cluster on the right that curls around and goes right underneath the photos. Now all these flowers are different ones from my stash. A lot of them are 49 and market ones, but there is a mixture there. Now with this little word circle, I have stuck it down on top of the flowers. So as long as you use a strong enough glue, you can actually stick that down on top of the cluster of the flowers, and you'll see in the close-up photos that it's actually on top of the flowers. So with the title, the script is going at the top and the capital letters in the title are going at the bottom, the word with the capital letters, the everyday. And I'm really happy about how that's come together, and I'm just adding a couple of little flowers at the end of the swirl just to finish that large embellishment cluster as it curls around to the left-hand side of the photo and then joins up with the dandelion that's on the left side of the photos. So this is getting really close to the end now. I'm just sticking down the title at the top. As I said, I'm just loving how this whole layout came together. It is so bright and happy, and you'll see that even better in the close-up photos when they are shown very shortly. And I am going to cover my photo and add splatters of the gold mica paint over the layout, over the chipboard title, and over the embellishments and flowers. And it is just so sparkly and pretty when it's all dried, and it really does splatter into lovely little fine splatters. And again, you'll see that in the close-up photos. And there we go, no splatters on the photo, which is good. And I'm done. And then here are the photos, and thank you so much for joining me for another process video. There's that ombre effect, which I'm so thrilled with how that worked out. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them below. Thank you for joining me. If you could, please press like, and I would love if you subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Goodbye.